You've mentioned that you had this like understanding with Gardner that he had the ads, but you showed on the board itself. What do you think about Gardner?
I think our interactions have been pretty minimal for the most part. I saw the ads popped up around about the same time I was planning on starting to shill People Mover, and I just thought, I feel like I can accomplish word of mouth on this board better through different means. I've seen the books of his that get like free links posted around to and all that. I've known people through like university that have even actually gotten his stuff legitimately, and I gotta say I don't think all that highly of the stories themselves.
Welcome back to the Unreal Press podcast, the internet's first and foremost podcast on transgressive fiction, online culture, and everything from 4chan that's actually good. And we're now available on like real podcast platforms instead of, just YouTube and Spotify. Yeah. I actually finally got around to remaking all the accounts that the previous co-host Ryan did not give me before he had a schizophrenic fucking meltdown and fled to the Caribbean to become a beachside ass hermit. Anyway, I'm expat journalist Labuschagne. I'm knocking back a glass of hot chocolate with a few shots of Bailey's poured into it, and I'm talking to John David Carr. That's right, the author of People Mover, and scourge of writing general has finally come on to reveal his hand. Welcome, brother.
Thank you for having me. I've been listening to your show since the outset because I appreciate the work of a fellow shill, but I'm glad to be here.
100%. Good to have you on at last. So I think that's actually where we ought to start off then, is with the shilling, because at least from my side, that's one of the things you're known for. You post, and you post about yourself. And I'm sure the question that's burning on everyone's minds is it effective advertising?
Yeah, it works. It works surprisingly well. Whenever I'm in the mood to post on there on 4chan Lit, I can really direct traffic to wherever I need. I don't think it's just about spamming links, but you need to sort of cultivate the right image that works to make you look just as much like you know what you're talking about as it is like providing a bit of a spectacle for people to want to go and always take the bait and go and have a look at.
Okay, so it's not only about then, just memeing, providing some entertainment, but also like giving some authority, saying, I'm legit.
You can find the exact sort of perfect sort of vision of yourself you need to make on every different board, but on Lit, it's very much one of, cultivate equal parts a sort of pseudo-intellectual shell over just a slightly weird sort of tilt at things, and you can really draw people in easily. As much as people will say they don't take the bait, the traffic stats on my end tell a different story.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I've noticed. And that's something I found just reading Lit, and frankly, just reading other boards that also have trip fags is, well, unfortunately, we complain about everything. But yeah, people complain, and if they can attach a name to it, they complain, but they also do read it.
Absolutely. It's probably part of the human condition in some ways that you have to satiate your curiosity whenever someone's making this much of a nuisance.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that. And it's also, I'd argue, recognition. Because again, I mean, people don't like trip fags, but if you see a thread with, for example, Butterfly, or you see a thread with Gardner, you see any of the stuff I post whenever I'm not banned. Yeah, people look at it just because, hey, look, somebody's putting themselves out there, and that's still kind of audacious, even on this platform. People come in.
Yeah. People always say they don't like trip codes and people using them, but I think the reality is very different. And Lit has a few. Some of the other boards, like LGBT, is practically half the people there. On some of the other boards, I look at like his and CK. It's a little less common, but definitely on Lit, people have come to understand sort of board culture that definitely doesn't hate them as much as it claims to.
Yeah, that's one thing I've found. And it's one thing I've also been trying to decipher, is that I presume you did watch the episode where Zulu Elitspe came on and talked about your book. I mean, it's your book. But
Of
one
course.
thing we mentioned there is board cultures. And that's something that's always kind of confused me because Flash Lit to me has always had one of the least clear board cultures because literature is really fucking diverse. And even, quote unquote, literature is still a humongous field.
Yeah. I think just at the very least it's reading stuff just does a slightly higher barrier for entry than say movies and television. So it's a lot less. There are a lot less forced memes and stuff that you'd get on like the TV board, for instance. Lit just doesn't have like its equivalent to Sneed effectively. We managed to keep just enough on topic that you avoid that. That's probably why we're just slightly slower in terms of thread turnover and stuff. But it's I think just the general 4chan attitude of treating things with slight irreverence at every turn.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a part of it because at least everyone by default is anonymous, that it's meritocratic in a sense. It's meritocratic because you're only really cared about for the quality of whatever you put out, and that's one thread at a time. But a friend of mine actually had a pretty interesting theory. I'll see if I can get Namisi on one of these episodes. I think he watches the stuff. But he argued that every sort of kind of conversation has an appropriate forum. It has a setting. And like the more serious or more intellectual it is, the slower you need to go. It's like if you want to just discuss the latest sports results, Twitter's your best thing. And if you want to have a deep, hectic conversation about the intricacies of theology, you really got to sit down with somebody educated in that field and talk to him face to face.
Yeah.
Same if you want to read Tower or anything. And I think Lit hits an interesting middle ground because it's a slow board on 4chan, and it does at least pretends to discuss pretty intellectual things.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think you've really hit on a good point there, especially just regarding like relative speed to the rest of 4chan. I just find it, I still can't give too much of a reason why people would be so incentivized to discuss things, more thoughtfully on, say, 4chan than, any other internet forum on, some of these topics. But, I don't know, maybe the anonymity and the impermanence of it all just really attracts only the people who actually want to discuss it. So you get a little less, especially on, some of the slower boards, you just really only get the people that are actually there to converse.
Yeah, I think that's probably a part of it, is this anonymity and the fact that boards, well, the threads are constantly rotating in and out. So yeah, and obviously then it's pretty cutthroat. I mean, Janny's notwithstanding, because fuck Janny's, but if the thread's not popular, it gets saged, it dies. So that also then forces people to at least quote unquote stay on topic. But what I found with the anonymity of it is that it makes a lot of people, at least I've noticed, very comfortable to share things. It's like why you can always tell your secrets to a random stranger. Like I can go up to somebody I've never seen and say, oh, I'm into XYZ, socially unacceptable hobby. Yeah, they might say, oh, LA, you're a sick fuck. But there's no risk to me because they have no idea who I am. And I have no investment in a relationship with them. And I think you can sort of do the same thing on 4chan if you don't use trips. Just say whatever you want. If it backfires, so what?
Yeah, it's a pretty good point. Of course, I mean, there's just as much misinformation and disinformation floating around as there are, freely given secrets. But it's a good point. I know how I post with the trip code off and trip code on are, different things. And just I think it's maybe slightly different on Lit in particular because it's not like that's a particular thread where you're sort of discussing personal matters for the most part.
Right. Yeah, it really is. And another thing I wanted to ask, and well, not only me, but I was told to ask this question, if you don't mind sharing, since you're really alongside Gardner, one of the people who's advertised on Lit to arguably its full potential. How much did you make on that? Or just sales numbers for People Mover? How much of them do you think came from your efforts on this platform?
Well, the first time I released People Mover, and I did it did it just independently. It was about 90 pages, like short novella, through Amazon. I over the course of about just a month of shilling on the side every evening on Lit, I was able to, I don't know, even if people who have read my stuff and seen my posts will sort of know too much about my personal background, but it financed a move to a different state and pretty comfortably, and got me set up in a different place for a year now. So just off the back of the book alone, I was able to, financing through a hobby essentially that is writing and posting, I was able to pay for a move, and
Wow, congrats.
yeah, it's I've got hopes that I'll sort of be able to continue that in the future. I've the original People Mover link's been taken down now, but I've got some plans for it in the future, and just other little writing and art projects I've been doing since I've moved to a major city have been going pretty well. So
Okay.
just a little side activity. I've been pretty financially beneficial from it all. I don't know if you'd necessarily be able to do it as easily today as I could, a year and a half ago, just given that the sort of self-advertising is a bit more saturated on Lit now, and I sort of really got in there at the start with, when it was just myself, just sort of relying on like grassroots posting and Gardner, taking out the ads and sort of making a bit of a forced meme out of Call of the Crocodile and all that. But no, I've been able to do pretty well off People Mover alone, so I'm happy with it.
Yeah, well, good job, man. I'm happy for you that we're seeing real success stories here. And
Thank
well,
you.
yeah, you're one of the few people I've met who's actually been able to do something meaningful with book money. So, I mean, that's always nice. But so you actually said you took the link for the original People Mover down. I mean, obviously, I've also heard rumors then about a rework floating around, like an expanded, another 50-page version. Are you going to re-release this officially?
Yeah, I've always got a bunch of projects on the go, and I'm still holding on to the People Mover manuscript and everything like that. So maybe over the course of the next couple months, keep an eye out for if that resurges, which is quite likely. But yeah, I did end up taking the original one down. It's if you really went through the archives, you could probably find a link I would have posted either under a trip code or anonymously to just like an archived sort of free online version of the original book. But I ended up taking People Mover down. It had served its purpose, and I know that a lot of the 4chan people had started sort of sort of leaving bad reviews, I would say unnecessarily, and just seemed like it had sort of done its purpose. Plus I was at a point where I was ready to move after I'd sort of saved up for that, so I was not shilling it like a full-time hobby or anything.
Okay.
So yeah, just
Okay.
take it down. I'll keep it in my back pocket, and when that next version does inevitably come out, then it will be expanded, and there are some follow-up books that have always been sort of envisioned as sequels and such. When they happen, I'll put them back up, and I think people will be eager to see it.
And so, yeah, you saw the episode. For anyone who hasn't listened to it, I was not kind to People Mover, but at the same time, it is, it's from my community, and I will definitely, read the next ones in the series. But one thing I do want to ask about you, Johnny, and with People Mover is, so if I get this right, you are Australian. At least that's where you've lived all your life.
That'd be fair to say. I pretty openly put stuff up on social media like Instagram and stuff that I think people will be able to sort of tell plenty about my life from seeing.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell from the accent alone that you're from the land down under. But that, begs the question: why did you write this book set in America, and not only set in America, but almost drenched with Americana? That it's not a book that you could really set anywhere else. What led you to make that choice?
That's always been the first question anyone who read it that I knew in real life asked. Everyone from, my friends to my parents, they always ask that, and I think it's just simple that that's where I wanted to put the story. It's on the American-Canadian border. It's one of the places where it could happen.
Yeah, simple as that then.
I'm sure people that will be listening to this will more than likely have, read the story before, but I just wanted a story about crossing some borders with a gun in a truck and with a certain sort of personal attitude of the characters in there. So, where else to set it than the USA?
I mean, that makes sense. In a way, do you think that maybe contributed to the relative success of your novel then? Because, I mean, most people who use cans are American. So perhaps selling a book that was closer to home as opposed to selling written with truckers and similar themes in your own homeland. Do you think making a book set in America helped its success?
I'd say it's honestly probably unlikely that would have been a contributing factor, mostly just because, from what I can tell, most of the people that went and bought it, which, fair few, were mainly people that just saw something, they don't know what, but something being shilled to excess. I don't think a lot of the sales happened because of, secondary word of mouth about where it was set, at least. Maybe I think when people read it and they saw it was actually, pretty well written and, dare I say, held to a higher standard of writing than, some of the F. Gardner stuff I've seen. I think people might have, told the other bored inhabitants that it's good, but I don't think setting would be that much of a factor.
All right. Yeah, that's fair enough. Another thing I wanted to ask about, because there's something I've seen argued about in lit. Is there a Russian influence in your books?
I get told that it feels very Russian, just in terms of the writing style. That's been another comment that's been sort of curiously present from the outset. I think that's people just picking up on the fact that it's 90 to 95% of the book is well, maybe not 90%, but a very large chunk of the book is like dialogue in a truck. Not much sort of in-scene action, but sort of very dialogue heavy and very long descriptions of relatively mundane scenes just being described, and border crossings being laboriously described and stuff like that. So I see where people are coming from when they describe it as a lot like Nabokov and and the sad Russian genre.
Okay.
All the literature fans are familiar with, but it was never a conscious decision to sort of go that way necessarily. And I think I think that's just how it came out. It wasn't purposefully trying to emulate any particular style, but a lot of the other stuff I've written that not even stuff I've put out, just like written for my own purposes that I'm still happy with. I just haven't done anything commercial with them yet. I seem pretty different, so just so happens that the setting plus how that original story was written, just the outcome of how it was done.
Okay. Right. Yeah, that's what I thought myself, because I'm a great fan of Nabokov, and for reference, I have actually read things that aren't Lolita that he wrote.
One of the first comparisons were to like Pale Fire and stuff, which it's I can see why they make the connection, but
Yeah, you could maybe say that Nabokov was also a foreign author who wrote extensively about America and in Americana especially. So, and there is that overlap, but I didn't, yeah, at least on my side, I didn't see it as particularly significant. But you've been talking up all these other projects this whole time, and I'm interested. What are you working on?
Well, I'm always in the middle of loads and loads of stuff. It's been pretty dedicated to working on a lot of artistic pursuits over the last year or so, and I've got some books, got a not to give too much away, but I've got a stage play. I've got a lot of art that I've been doing, painting and sculpture, drawing, a bit of poetry. I've got things I'm looking quite forward to rolling out when the time is appropriate. A lot of other written stuff. I'll be probably doing some more in that area over the next couple months. But I've got a lot of stuff on the go. I dedicate a lot of my free time to doing this sort of stuff, and I'm looking very forward to where I go with it.
Okay, that definitely sounds interesting. Yeah, I mean, I've seen obviously I've seen the YouTube channel, and yeah, I've seen the reply you made to one of my short clips about it.
Yeah. The YouTube was something I was just wanted to explore for a little bit. Ended up doing a couple like direct to camera sort of live action, 20-25 minute, speaking pieces. Put them up, showed them around on 4chan for a little bit. Decided to pull those eventually because they weren't completely up to the standard I wanted. But since then I've been doing just a couple like 10-15 minute text to speech things. Originally I just wanted to put them out just because I had those pieces written from quite a while back, and I just wanted to experiment with how viable text to speech would be. But it's an avenue I'd like to. I wouldn't rule out totally putting stuff up on YouTube. It's just another creative medium I wanted to explore, and I'm always happy to see a finished project stay up like that. I just think there's some just inherent virtue. That's probably not the right word, but there's an inherent goodness in just any project being finished, even if it's not sort of perfect in my eyes, and very little that I do ever is. But I'm always happy to just have something up and being seen.
Yeah, I think that's really a very important part of being a creative, and that's something I think a lot of people struggle with, especially those who've grappled with perfectionism, is realizing that obviously you have to make good content. I mean, just don't shit posting is shit posting, but most of us don't make a living off shit posting, and those who do put in a remarkably large amount of work into it. But yeah, I mean, if you're putting content out there, it doesn't have to be perfect, but it has to be, I think, consistent. And you do have to keep evolving, experimenting, and continually working out a niche and understanding it.
Yeah, I definitely agree that you do want to be always putting stuff out. In any sort of new medium that you're not familiar with, just doing small projects in that medium can always go a long way to just improving your confidence and your ability and your knowledge on what you do. But I can rarely go 2 days without working on some project or another, and the vast majority of what I do just never goes online. Not because it's not good or anything, but just because it's not made for an online space. I do a lot of local art festivals, a lot of local music festivals, and maybe a tenth of that ends up being photographed and like put up online somewhere or other. But I'm very very happy with the sort of creative output I do at the moment, and doing that's really just been keeping me afloat happily for a year now, ever since the move.
Nice. That sounds good, man. Great to be productive. And I think, yeah, a danger, especially for people who are cultivating online personalities, cultivate like we're growing a plant. I mean, cultivate in the sense of a Chinese web novel, Unbridled Autism. But my point is that for people who do this, it can become very difficult to, go outside and touch grass and live in the real world. So, I mean, it's great that you're still engaging and you're being creative with the traditional artwork and traditional artwork in the modern day.
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean I can't speak to what the other sort of 4chan meme authors are, but yeah, I definitely think it's very important that you go outside once in a while, try and connect with like the local scene wherever you are, rather than just pour all your effort into online stuff. And I have to say that's that's really one of the most important things you can hold on to, just as a person, like regardless of where your creative interests lie. But yeah, the vast majority of all the creative projects I've been taking on over the course of the last year never get posted anywhere publicly, never get shilled online because they're just not those kind of projects. But everything from being part of a lineup on like a poetry performance to having like a gallery exhibition to just doing some like contracted art projects like the local council. They want to like beautify the city to small contract work to write things here and there. It's vast majority of it will either be done, if not just offline, but completely anonymous. No sort of public connection to it at all. I just sort of do the job or go in and I just try and do it as well as I can. But I've really enjoyed a lot of the creative scene in the city where I've moved to, Brisbane, Queensland. I've met hundreds of people I see regularly now, and you see them at every other event and every other little like musical gig, everything that's on. I've met these people. I've spent a year networking, and it's very enjoyable for me, and it's very productive in terms of how you can make that the first step to having a consistent creative output when you've got those sort of networks in place.
Right. Yeah, I think local network is also really important because you can just word of mouth a lot of your projects. If people know who you are in your hometown, I think that's a guaranteed readership for the things you are posting online, for the things you are commercializing. I mean, on the other hand, there is just great value for your city in just doing things. And I found that's what I've been doing. This year especially is volunteer work. And some of it's, you also just see some truly ridiculous things. Like, if you excuse the digression, I think one time, and you are a politically active individual, so I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this as well. I was actually just going for a walk with one of my friends. He was basically doing the same thing I was doing, except from a different faculty's perspective. We were walking around and he runs into one of his friends who's, I don't think the chick was actually Palestinian, but she was very much pro-Palestine. She had like the little ribbon on her jacket and everything. And I was looking at it for like a good 2 minutes and thinking, shit, lady, what cancer are you supporting? But anyway, no, it wasn't cancer. It was an oppressed minority. Because at my university, we have a wall. And anyone can go and they can paint the wall, and that's lacquered. It's careful. You can paint the wall with whatever you want. But you have to book the wall out. You have to get permission. And who had gotten permission one day before the Palestinians were going to paint the wall? The Jewish Student Organization, which is the Zionist student organization. And they paint the wall. So what the Palestinians do is they don't touch the wall. Around the wall, they post all this little propaganda flyers from Amnesty International calling Israel an apartheid state. And apartheid here, this is South Africa. We had the real deal. It's serious business. And they have this whole standoff that escalates to a fucking bake sale. And meanwhile, I'm there with my bro, and he's like, dude, we've got to help the Palestinians. And I'm thinking, hey, I'd rather stay out of this one. But they offered me a free slice of watermelon if I help stick up posters, and every lady has a price. And so the watermelon, obviously is like shaped like what Palestine's territorial ambitions are and has the same colors as the flag. And this escalated to a bake sale where, while the Zionist students were protesting the so-called occupation of their wall, the Palestinians just started selling cupcakes. It's great to do stuff like help out your city, volunteer. You see things like this.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to have to lift the phrase elevated to a bake sale for the next type of these meetings I'm sitting in. But yeah, it's you definitely get to do a lot, especially if you have some interest in socio-political goings on. But I found it fulfilling sort of area of the city society to be in, getting involved in all that. The universities around here have been home to a surprisingly high amount of controversial goings on. We've had a handful of people sort of make their name as political aspirants off of pulling publicity stunts out of the universities, just in like this one end of the city. I definitely found a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yeah, no, it's also fulfilling stuff. I know, obviously this filters into your work because nobody's work and their personal life is entirely separate. But I am interested then, because I heard at some point you also released a manifesto, a collection of notes and a treatise.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what it was like the philosophical considerations of the physicality of the human consciousness.
Yeah, a while back, I think this might have been slightly prior to People Mover. I'd for quite a long while, a bit prior to that, just sort of in the couple of years since I'd left high school. One of the little side projects I had going on was a regular little column in a small independent lit mag type thing. Just real sort of local indie thing. Probably never got archived online anywhere to my knowledge, but it was just a small little thing, and I had a regular column, and basically half of the joke of the column is that it was called Discourse on the Physicality of Human Consciousness in the Classical Tradition and Other Topics. And then I'd just spend my one column musing on just some philosophical topic for a little bit, and I'd give a genuine view, but the joke was that I was just waffling on about something completely mundane, and it was well received at the time. People enjoyed the joke, and it was just over the course of about a year that this thing came out, monthly or so. It was a small funny gag that always had a single column in a indie paper somewhere. At the time when this project came to a close, and it had run its year-long run, I'd basically been, me and a lot of the other people who were sort of involved in this sort of looked at our lengthy, cutting room floor piles and piles of notes and stuff, and I basically compiled everything I'd written for that, plus a bunch of long-form original content in the same vein into one sort of small booklet, and formatted that already to do the Amazon self-pub thing, and just sort of pressed it into one book and put that up online for just a month, so we could all order our copies. And it was sort of like a old 50s TV show serials that'll do a bumper book yearly sort of thing.
Right, okay.
Right. It was basically just that was always basically just a thing we made for ourselves out of a lot of the sort of work that never saw the light of day in the proper printed edition. But I put that up for a month. I can't remember if I ended up shilling that hard just to see if I get a few extra copies out. Just sort of revisiting that was actually in reference to that YouTube channel you brought up that I've been experimenting with. I think I've put 4 videos.
Yeah, I think as recording that seems right.
Yeah, to date there are about 4 of those, and I think 3 of those were just lifted directly from that end of year bumper book, just as a means of having something to just test the powers of doing text to speech on.
Right. And now, why did you go with text to speech originally? Because you're clearly comfortable behind a mic, and you've also clearly done a lot in front of a live audience. So why not narrate these videos yourself?
It's just purely been some experiments into how feasible text to speech is for some things. There's just a couple avenues. One, I just wanted to get that content up online somewhere in some form, especially since I remember you bringing up the witch burning thing in one of your podcast segments. So I thought, oh, I remember that. That's from the book. I'll put that up online just as a proof of concept video, which was one of the things I must have used that as a sort of eye-catching bit of a joke to shill it online at some point if it's still well known or remembered in some capacity. But I've just been playing around with text-to-speech recently. I want to see if it's viable for making some music with in the long term.
Music with
You know,
text to speech. Now that'll be
yeah,
interesting.
just I mean, anyone on 4chan's probably seen at least one Moon Man parody, and they're all pretty bad. But I feel like there's something that can be done with the format to redeem the idea of putting a beat behind text-to-speech.
I think that's definitely got potential. And
Hmm.
spoken word music does, well, it sells. So I think text to speech music could do something similar.
Yeah, I think there's probably a spot for it. I've been going to a lot of experimental music projects that are put on by people I know, and it's definitely just one of the little projects I've got working on at the moment.
Nice. That's definitely an interesting avenue, and I'm not sure how much has really been done with text to speech in this regard before,
Hmm.
especially using it as a major way. I mean, I'm sure you're aware of like Internet Historian. There's been
Oh yeah.
successful YouTube channels with that, but actually using the unique quirks of it, I'm not sure how much has really been done.
Yeah, that's basically what I thought as well. I just there's not a lot of good text-to-speech music out there. I think it's been tried a few times for a few different purposes, but it can be done. I just don't think it's been done well yet. So I'm exploring the possibilities.
Right, right. Have you done much music beforehand? Like, do you play any instruments or anything?
I've done a little bit of music here and there. I'm pretty sure I've never put anything online in that sort of space because I'm not very good, but I was just raised in a household that encouraged learning the basics of a lot of things, and I feel like I'm decent with piano or keyboard, but I know a lot of people that are just leagues ahead of where I am. So I'm unlikely to do like a one-man act anytime soon, but I definitely wouldn't rule it out totally. I'll explore the possibilities of having some musical project, and I guess just keep an eye on that social media and see if anything ever comes of it.
Certainly looking forward to seeing what does come of it. Yeah. And so, in speaking of books, because I mean, that this is like, as I said in the intro, transgressive fiction, online culture. With
Mm.
fiction, what will be your next project? Is it going to be like the People Mover series, or are you planning something else? What can we look forward to on Lit?
I've actually got a handful of literary projects just right on standby. That's I'm definitely going back to a focus on literature in August. Um, there's a short story I've been holding on to for quite a long while that's gone through a handful of different forms. That's definitely something I'm very happy with, and I think it does something that we haven't really seen a lot of. It's very very original, I think. Not to give too much away, but I think just be on the lookout for that in the very near future. I've got plans for People Mover and People Mover as a series in the immediate future, and I've got a handful of other little magazine projects that I've also got roles in. A very very literary month August will be for me, I think. So
Cool. Yeah, that sounds right. So there is more in the works. Good. I mean, one of the things I wanted to see with People Mover is, yeah, I do want to see it revised, edited again. I wanted to see like the director's cut of that book because I think it has definitely major potential. And even hell, leaning into the Russian aspects of it, I think could prove a major strength. Like, frankly, that was one of my favorite parts of Lolita is just the road trip. But not speaking about Lolita, speaking about the Chans again.
mm.
You've mentioned that you had this like understanding with Gardner that he had the ads, but you showed on the board itself. What do you think about Gardner?
I think our interactions have been pretty minimal for the most part. I'd be more than happy to sit down with him and have a talk one day, but I saw the ads popped up around about the same time I was planning on starting to show People Mover, and I just thought I feel like I can accomplish word of mouth on this board better through different means. I've seen the books of his that get like free links posted around to and all that. I've known people through like university that have even actually gotten his stuff legitimately, and I mean I gotta say I don't think all that highly of the stories themselves to be a little critical and perhaps break the 4chan meme or for unsaid code of fraternity on that, but yeah, they are what they are. I can't begrudge someone for putting their work out, though. I think that's always a good thing, regardless of who's doing it or what the product is. So he has my compliments on that, and I hope he's done as well as I have, or at the very least he's as satisfied with what's come of it for him as I'm very satisfied with how my creative pursuits have gone for me.
Yeah, that makes sense. From what I can tell, Gardner hasn't done badly for himself. He's, of course, a lot more secretive than you are. He's like the only person to ever self-dox and then try and take it back. So, yeah, I can't say for certain, but I've talked to him. Another episode on that. I don't think he's in a position to complain. But another thing now, Card, I want to know with your writing especially is you make a big thing about the gun in People Mover, the Desi.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I see these memes like it's some commentary on, the arms industry, the military-industrial complex. Is there any weight behind that, or is this just a cool gun for you?
Well, I don't know if it's necessarily a condemnation of the arms industry or anything, but when I was writing it, this People Mover, what became People Mover, started out quite a while ago now. I think maybe 4 or 5 years, and the basic framework of the narrative plot ended up getting refined a lot. I think that might be why it's maybe why it comes across as so Russian, is it's every revision has basically been refining all of the little minutiae of dialogue and stuff that happens over the same basic framework of a plot that can't be altered all that much without just restarting from scratch. But I think there's a lot of I feel like quite a fair deal of symbolism ended up going into People Mover, both sort of overt and a little more subtle, which I'd definitely like to build upon in future books or any sort of short film adaptations, for example, which is something else I've always had it in the back of my mind. If only just for the sake of doing it. But I don't know how much of a political message could be read from People Mover, but there's definitely some little inklings of something in there. I'll leave it up to the readers to figure that out, and when the author's cut, director's cut comes out, next month, I will leave it in the reader's hands. I trust that they will be able to take something or other away from it. So,
Right. That sounds like it's got a lot of potential, actually. Okay. And another thing, since you're not just a writer, but you're a creative, which, at least in my circle is like words for people who make stuff and generally make a lot of different stuff, do you have any advice for people who are starting out with writing, painting or poetry or whatever? Like, what did you find is, for instance, a great way to keep yourself motivated?
Well, I might not be in a great position to give advice about how to stay motivated, because I've, for the past, like 5 or so years since I'd left high school, I've always felt very passionately and very interested, in pursuing these creative projects, and I don't need any external motivation to make me want to do them. It's I can't really go 2 days without pursuing a creative project that I don't miss it terribly. So it's just something I'll always be working on. Big, very strong like work ethic for it, I guess, just innately. But I think if you're getting started and you want to sort of pursue that, if you feel it's right for you, just keep on track, keep finishing your projects. It's not so important if you don't put them out immediately, or anything like that, or if you don't receive critical acclaim from the get-go, but just keep your eyes on finishing a project and finishing the next project and finishing the next, and after a while you'll start thinking those are some good projects, and you might want to just sort of network with people in your area, see what can be done. But if you feel like it's the right life path for you, I feel like you'll know it, and you won't need any sort of convincing or anything like that. And if you give it a go, that's great. But if you don't necessarily feel it, then it's fine, I presume, to just recognize that it's not your thing and go pursue something else.
Makes sense. I think that's important. Definitely to have a sense of self-motivation and a sense of self-confidence. The problem is relying on intrinsic motivation. It's great until you run out of extrinsic motivation. And then you're in a terrible fucking position because, well, nobody's rewarding you for making it. But I think for a lot of people who do find some kind of creative outlet as a hobby or, even as a profession, there's a drive to make stuff, like you said. So, yeah, with extrinsic motivation, if you're not getting rewarded, the drive doesn't go away. You just sit there thinking, I should write, but I don't have any incentive. So realizing that you're doing it ultimately for yourself, I think that's quite a mature way of understanding it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, not to get too unnecessarily deep into like the philosophy of driving motivations, but I think if you're only pursuing creative projects because you're seeking like a commercial success or anything like that, or even if you're just pursuing exterior validation, I don't think you're going to be doing it for the right reasons, and you're probably not going to be completely satisfied with how you're using your time and your effort. And I feel like if you've got the right motivation for it, you'll just be happy to be doing it.
Nice. That goes a long way. Sure. Is there any other message you'd like to give to the listeners or just people in general about writing there? Some other tips you found that are beneficial to know and work out with?
Just in purely sort of writing craft terms, I feel like just the best thing to keep in mind is just a very similar thing to I remember there's like a very like film school bro quote that gets attributed to Tarantino that's always about the reason he's a good filmmaker is before he was a director, he'd just like sit as a clerk in a video rental place for days and days and days and just watch a lot of movies. And I feel like that's completely correct in terms of just knowing what's good. And if you go on a board like Lit or a board like TV, for any of our 4chan listenership here, like if someone says Kino, in response to describing a scene or a creative composition, we have an inherent understanding of why that is. And I think there's just a perfect something that can't necessarily be defined in words all too easily, but it's just we know what makes for an entertaining scene at just a base level. And there's just whether it be just a witty little bit of dialogue or a clever, just a little clever, just enough fan service that isn't that's
Yeah, tasteful fan service.
yeah but we just have an inherent knowledge of what makes stories good, and I think if you have an idea in mind for like an original premise for a story or original idea for a poem, and you just keep that guiding principle in mind of what good taste is, and you know how to easily identify something badly written. If you just keep that in mind and just work purely on whether it be your just mechanical processes, if it's like painting, if you have a good idea for a painting and you know what you want to do and you know what'll make it good, just keep practicing doing that painting until you actually have like the techniques of capturing what you want perfectly. If it's writing, just focus on doing rewrite after rewrite to just get like the vocabulary there. If it's anything, just keep refining it mechanically until you get to that great idea of yours. Because I feel like realistically, everyone on lit, everyone on TV, even everyone on like V, a lot of these boards that discuss entertainment products are like 99% of the way to being able to identify what makes a great story great. And at that point, it's just a mechanical process of practicing until you can, create one of your own. And I would encourage everyone to find out what their good idea is, and just keep working on it for as long as it takes until you get that one, great thing of theirs out.
Just keep at it. Persistence. Yeah, I think that's good advice. And it's, I think, advice that you can apply to a lot of things, not only creative endeavors. Like, I think it was either Bruce Lee or my dad once said, don't be scared of the guy who's done 10,000 kicks once. Scared of the guy who does one kick 10,000 times. So yeah, I think that holds true. Also, like you said, making what you want. I've realized with a lot of things, again, it boils down to motivation. Obviously, if you're trying to make money, you have to care about your audience and what they want and cultivate stuff. But at the end of the day, you're still making money for yourself. So doing something that you, if not enjoy, at least tolerate, I think that also goes a long way. Because if you're going to do it 10,000 times, you've got to do it every day.
Yeah. If you've got the right motivations, if you're doing it for the right reasons, knowing that you're working towards a better end product will always motivate you to keep at it. You don't really need to consider, don't look at it as a commercial exercise. If you're at a point where you've got a healthy creative social life and everything, and you've got a network, you can take your finished product to people who will eagerly support it, but don't pursue a project as if it's just a commercial endeavor. Pursue it because you know that you've got an idea for a great work of art, whether regardless of what medium it is. If you've got a project that you just want to see done, if you have the right motivations, seeing it done will be all the reward you need and will be all the motivation you need to see that it gets done.
Right. Okay. And so then, Card, how did you find out that you're a creative? Because, I mean, you're pretty set on this being your life path. But how did you get there? As again, I'm not sure what to not believe on. I see on 4chan. I'll take V's advice and disbelieve any of it unless I've good evidence to the contrary. But I'm told you did work a couple of other jobs. You traveled a bit. You did things beforehand. How did you get to writing?
Well, I've ever since like the last year of high school or so, when I was sort of weighing up my options for what career path to take, I was always pretty dead set on something academic, whether it be in English or history. I was that sort of mindset. Never particularly cared for math and hard science, but I was just sort of pretty interested in the humanities. So I always had a creative undercurrent beside that, but I focused on the academics of it all. Went through uni with an academic career path in mind, but by the end of that, especially since my final couple of years of uni had been pretty radically altered by the pandemic and stuff starting up, so that kind of stymied my efforts there a little bit. It was at that point I just sort of had a good long time to sort of reassess my priorities in life, and that reassessment and realignment made me sort of reconsider if I'd like to pursue the projects that are meaningful to me, and that meant putting down all the academic qualifications for a bit and picking up the artistic interest and first returning to all the stuff I'd just been writing, commercially, like all the little magazine columns and stuff I had, and all the little journalism bit work I'd done, and just the big list of ideas for stuff that I had that I really wanted to do. It meant revisiting that. It meant writing the book. People Mover, as what became People Mover, had been something I'd been holding on to for quite a long while, but it meant taking a few months to seriously look at that and how to retool that into a proper story, and putting that up, eventually shilling that, which facilitated the eventual move to where I am now. And the past 13 months I've been moved out quite happily, and up in the big city away from where I grew up I've been perfectly happy with it, and it's only increased my capacity to take on creative projects 1,000-fold. So it's been a very enjoyable last year, getting to sort of know the other creative types that are here, living in a proper major city for the first time. And I would just encourage any of your listeners that if they have a creative dream and they're pretty dead set on knowing that they want a creative life path, but they're currently in a situation where just the circumstances of their life don't allow it, well, I'd have to encourage them that nothing wrong with dropping everything and just moving and pursuing something else. And what with our very finite time on Earth, might be more worthwhile to do it than to stay where they are currently and not completely fulfilled.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think the pandemic showed a lot of people that your life isn't set in stone and things are going to jerk you around. So you can do the same thing. You can actualize, you can be assertive, you can really decide to pursue your passion. Even if not forever, it is now and ever.
Yeah, it's no, you really have to just decide what your values are, what your goals are, and just really, will to power it, life into going how you want it. Yeah, I have to agree, and I'm infinitely happier with the decision I've made than the career I would have otherwise gone into had I not made that decision. But I've been very fortunate that the 4chan shilling went well, opened up that path financially to move myself to where I wanted to be, and everything has just been really, really ideal since. I can't complain.
Nice, man. Good to see a success story coming out of this. And yeah, thanks for coming on, man. It's been good having you, John David Carr.
No problem. I've enjoyed it, and I'm more than happy to come back anytime if you ever want to do a follow-up, a year from now or whatever, or if you want to have a discussion with some other 4chan me-morphers or anything, but I'm always happy.
100%, man. Good to meet you in voice. And, as always, I've been LA Labuschagne. I've written some stuff too, Sociopath, Shaman, Shaft Tree Bay, and look out for the upcoming Unreal Anthology. It'll be out, inshallah. It will be out. And I don't just say inshallah because it's become part of my vocabulary ever since starting living in Dubai. No. I'm saying it because it has an Orientalist theme. That's right. We're going to do like Aladdin, and I'm going to do like something, some thriller thing about like modern Arab life. So yeah, it will be content. And that's one of the many things we're about on the Unreal Press. So yeah, until next time, cheers.
Thanks. Bye.
I may have gone too far in a few places.